Hello,
We,
hello.
oh, you're starting it. Wow.
That's all I have.
Um, let's just call Ron right now. Just be like, "Hey, buddy, can you tell me what you're doing right now?" Like, that's terrible. I hate that. What are you doing right now? No, that's how we're gonna start. Welcome back to Keeping Up with the Seattle Kraken. It is now March. I have to remind myself that because in editing our other shows and we have the little layout banners, right? I keep typing February.
Mm,
I have to be aware that we aren't even in spring yet. When I look
unfortunately.
down at the calendar and I see consecutive overlap days, right? We had our first big day on Saturday with four teams playing. Oh yeah, that's the kicker. Yet before we even get to this team, four Seattle Pro teams played on Saturday. The only one that won was the Seattle Kraken. This is the stupidest. No, we're not even 2 minutes into the show. I'm not going to say a bad word. This is the stupid ever. Like, I'm, oh my God. How do you, how, Jade, how St. Louis, Vancouver? How,
I asked myself the same thing a handful of times last night, where I was sitting there and I was like, surely this is not the same Seattle Kraken that just played in St. Louis. Like, there's just no way, right?
so yeah, we'll get to that. I'm sorry. It was just so funny again. I was thinking about this before, I think while we were waiting for Dan, right?
Hmm.
I'm thinking about it. I'm like, okay, the Mariners is spring training. I don't care. The Sounders are the team that I think is the closest pro team in this city to winning a championship. They have the best odds, in my opinion, to win a championship this year. Okay. They lost. You could give more context. They played in a city against Real Salt Lake. They've won, I think, in Real Salt Lake two times in the last 12 years. So it's like
Hmm.
they have a lot of trouble there. And then the Seawolves, who are probably two or three in terms of the championship list that I just mentioned, and they lost. But Kraken said, "Hey, don't worry." I was so ready to put an 0 and 4. I was like, nope.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll get into it. I'm sorry. Jade and I had a long talk about how she's being traded to your favorite team, Pittsburgh.
That'd be awful.
I was just gonna look for a big frown over there. Um, yeah. So the past week, Jade and I, last week we talked about the ups and the downs of beating the Panthers fresh out of the gate of the Four Nations break. See, now I've found it. I've pulled myself out of the loony bin. I've
Hmm.
taken the straitjacket off, and the rubber rats cannot hurt me anymore. Um, you beat the Florida Panthers in that game, even without Matthew Tkachuk. That's a good team. And then the 4-1 uh, score against Tampa Bay is pretty deceiving, but the goals that were against, like having that, cluster of three really decide the difference in that game is frustrating.
I
Uh,
think we talked about that a little bit last time because I remember you saying the score is deceiving. There's way more that went into that game. Because I think last week we had to record on Monday.
yes. Well, yeah, oh
Yep.
yeah, because we did that after and you liked having the 32 thoughts, which is a fair thing, but you know, um, I mean, if there's anything different, we could always record an emergency show. Um,
Well, this week.
Ron, don't trade anybody on a Monday. I swear to God. Part of what we'll do in this show, I'll give you the layout so you see if I've improved my mental state from the beginning of this show to the end. Excuse me, is the past two games, obviously the St. Louis and the Vancouver game. Some roster moves that happened, including one today. Largely, relatively irrelevant outside of the one that happened today. Um, kind of how we're feeling ahead of the trade deadline because that'll take place on Friday. And then what's ahead? Because we kind of get back really into a normal week, with Minnesota on Tuesday, Kraken go on the road for 3 games with Nashville, Philadelphia at 9:30 in the morning.
And we're gonna be at Pucks and Pancakes at
Oh God, that's right. I have to go and be at KCI early to get. Oh wait, do they have waffles? Do we know if they're gonna have waffles?
I
We
don't
just know
know.
they're gonna have mimosas. That's.
Yeah, mimosas and I think Bloody Marys is what we looked for. But
Oh, that's right. That's the
anyways, if
first game of a
anyone,
back-to-back.
yeah, but anyways, if anybody wants to come watch a game with CSS and friends, we'll be at KCI for Pucks and Pancakes.
Unless you hate me and you want to like shank me, don't come. Do not come.
Yeah.
Um, hey, people really dislike me. There are people that really love Charles, and there are people that really hate me. I
Hmm.
don't know what it is. Maybe it's the shine. The shine of the head makes people lose their fucking mind. Oh, there we go. Damn it. All right. Yeah, that's a wild back to back because you play the Flyers, who aren't an easy team to play by any means.
Nope.
And then there's the man behind the bench who might jump over the bench. And that's at 9:30 in the morning, our time at least, which
Hmm.
still, was kind of wild. And then there's 12:30 the next day against one of the best teams in I almost said in the country. That's more of a college terminology in the league in the Capitals. So,
I forgot they
um
play they play the Capitals again. That's not
yeah.
my business, actually.
So we will get going with this past week as I kind of start to become a little more normal. Um and pull myself out of the loony bin. But talking about the St. Louis game might put me right back in it. This was man, I mean, so they went into this game, right, on February 25th, and they have a practice, or at least it was on their travel schedule, is a practice on Monday in St. Louis, get some things right after kind of a collapse later in the latter half of that Tampa Bay game. And then you play, I was looking at St. Louis, especially I think making the graphics for the day, it said 26 uh I think it was like 26, 20. Where I want to make sure I say this right because I was a little shocked. I was like, you're that mid? Yeah, at the time they were 26, 26, and 6. I said, wow, you are the pinnacle of mediocre. Like this at least should be a decent game. I'm not
Hmm.
like the Seattle Kraken will only blow someone out when you least expect them to, like when they put up 8 goals in Montreal. Like they won't do it when you expect them to do it. They will lose to the San Jose Sharks when you expect them to win
Yep.
convincingly, right? And then the second period of this game happened. And I think I've debated rock bottom for this team several times this season. I think that could have been it because there have been bad games. There was the San Jose game, right? In that stretch of like San Jose, they played a bunch of Pacific Division opponents,
Wasn't that
but
like the
like,
home and home back to back or whatever?
yeah, Anaheim was in there, and those are bad. Okay, what happened in St. Louis was horrific. I mean, like you go into the first period, um, I mean, 2-0 in the first. You go into first intermission. It's not great, but it's doable, right? I mean, Jordan Kyrou, oh God, I'll have to watch these goals again. I should do that. We'll see how this fares. But I mean, again, generally 2 goals in the first period is surmountable, I'd say. And things just really went completely sideways in the second period. And what makes it worse is they didn't have somebody who, like, I'd feel comfortable with getting shelled on the bench. Now, did they, Jayd?
Hmm.
They had a child on the bench.
Yep.
Um, and there was just so much excitement after that Tampa. Yeah, it was Monday. It was a relatively quiet and innocuous Monday. They said, okay, like we'll get the game tomorrow. Yippee, yippee, how fun.
Hmm.
Roster move. Nikkei Coco's getting called up. I said, what? I said, what are you doing? Hello? There's been a mistake. Surely there's been a mistake. Um, nope. They posted this video of Firebirds head coach Derek Lexstall, congratulating him. The great call-up video is always wonderful. I have no complaints there. Um, and I said, well, surely he's just backing up. They had the one game in 5 days. It makes sense. Like Joey will be able to handle the workload. He's obviously been overworked at all basically all season. Um, they had to put the poor kid out there. That was, I think, I talked about it last episode because, yeah, oh, that's right, because we recorded after that. Um, like I was really worried about his mental state if he got shelled and they put him out there. And, I think he still gave up 2 goals.
It was two,
Uh,
yeah.
at least, yeah. So, like, not shelled, but, certainly not helpful, and especially with how Seattle played in this game. Um, yeah, the first goal, I mean, Jordan Kyrou's very talented. Jordan Kyrou comes down on the right wing, gets oh, that's disgusting. He gets Jamie Alexiak to go down on one knee and stick handles by him, and so Jamie's doing a tipsy-turvy top spin, and he gets the puck to hit the pipe and then the crossbar. That's a good goal. I don't have a lot of complaints about that. I would like for Jamie Alexiak to not get down on one knee like he's proposing. One day I
Hmm.
hope to do that. Who knows? I'm bald. Um, but there's a lot of talent there. It gets worse from here. It gets very, very marginally worse from here. Um, Oh, yeah, because the penalty kill's been pretty below average. Like the power play gets a lot of discussion. Penalty kill's been in the lower third of the league like all year. Like even with this, I'm told Jade that this Brandon Tanev guy is really good at killing penalties. I'm not bl
Phenomenal.
placing it all on him, but
Hmm.
he's just really good at that, I thought.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, this one with Robert Thomas to Pavel Buchnevich, like Buchnevich is wide open in the slot. Like no one's taking away the lane. Like I can. Oh, that's Oscar Sundqvist. Sorry. Nope. Buchnevich had the primary assist. Um. Oh wait. I hate having to relive this game. This is like, why do I do this? Why do we do this to ourselves, Jade?
I
What are we
don't know. There's
doing?
a reason I barely watched that game.
Sundqvist. Yeah. I mean, both of those, like, I wouldn't say are either of them are the worst thing in the world. Like,
Hmm.
I understand it. They could have been prevented, but it's not like we're straight up getting into tomfoolery in here. Um, yeah. They even had some decent chances early on, and Joey made some good saves early on. Like, it's not like they looked completely outclassed to begin the game, and just never showed it. Oh God, this batted puck. Yeah, you get 2 guys to get right in front of Joey Daccord in the crease. That should never happen, especially considering that it wasn't a breakaway. Like this was just a play up the wing. Josh Mahura gets taken away, and then that guy just able to bat that in. Joey is very pissed. He wants a call here. Robert Thomas, nope, never goes up. It just collapsed. It went really south really quick. Joey
Hmm.
got hung out to dry. I wouldn't like. Maybe the Sungfish goal, you could want him to get one. This fourth one here, he's just completely left out to dry. And he gets his stick like actually pretty close. Yeah, puck, the pass just goes right through the neutral zone, and then you get a cross ice pass that shouldn't have got there in the first place. Oh, the pass goes right through Montour's legs. That's terrible. And again, Jade, the question rises: how has a group of pretty solid NHL defensemen played so terribly all year long? I'm serious. Like this is
I know
weird.
you're serious, and that's why I'm laughing because I just don't know. I've thought about it, we've talked about it. That's been a really big point of conversation all over the place, and I just don't get it
Fifth goal is one through traffic. Like get
because
that
it's
just
not
within
like
the blue line.
it's not like the group is lacking any sort of talent or, anything like that. There's not, I mean, okay, in some places they definitely are. I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself, but I defense wise, it's not like they're lacking that much talent. So I just don't understand where the breakdown is happening. And I think we talked about this in one of the first Keeping Up with the Kraken shows where I want to say it was me said something about breaking up some of the defensive pairings because even though they've
Yeah.
worked for a majority of the time, maybe it's time to switch it around a little bit, try something new.
Yeah, I mean, and then again, like, and I'm okay with having this like more general discussion in this game because like I was just ready to blow things up after this game
Hmm.
because of how far gone you are in the season, how far out of
Hmm.
the playoff picture you are. You're closer to being the top pick in the league than you are a playoff team.
Yep.
Um, because of how you let this child down in the goal.
Yeah.
Um, and how you were embarrassed by a team that probably won't even make the playoffs.
Hmm.
Like, there's just so much wrong with this game. And to use a word that is very popular, is it one word or two? I don't know. To use an expression that's become very popular in with some of our friends. The crash out, like generally from the fan base, was understandable. Like I get it.
Hmm.
I was pissed. I was like, this is terrible. Who, and we talked to Jordan Eberle at morning skate ahead of the Vancouver game, and because they had two practices before that game, and remember I said one game in 5 days. Um, they had two practices before the Vancouver game, and they had a lot of like high competition things or whatever, which you could argue they should do more of.
Hmm.
Um, and Ebbs was asked about that and what the message was after that game, and it's like basically it's unacceptable. And I'm like, yep, this is what you're looking to hear from a guy like this.
Yep.
Um, Yeah. Damn dry cough, dude. Um, because yeah, I mean, this was just flat out embarrassing. Like, poor Coco, this first goal against, yeah, they put Nicky Coco in. He makes his NHL debut in St. Louis. They put him in after the fifth goal, and Cam Fowler, like, there's traffic in front. Coco has come out to him. This other guy is left wide open, completely naked back door. There's no one even trying to cover Jake Neighbors. Jesus Christ. That's just terrible. There's no one even like looking at him.
Attempting. Yeah.
Um, and that's Coco's first goal against. Like, yeah, Montour, Montour and Riker Evans are both so focused on this one skater in front of the net. That's just bad.
Hmm.
Um, oh, hey, good save. Okay. I was like, why is this highlight? Like, this is a really poor position for a one-timer. Like, why are we showing this? Yeah. It got bad fast. I wouldn't blame a lot of this game on Joey, despite the 5 goals against. There was just so much bad with it.
It kind of
And
reminded me of that was the Red Wings game, I think, where Grubauer got pulled and Joey
oh, the
got
road
pulled.
one. Yes.
Yep. That's kind of what, and for the record, I only caught, I think, the tail end of this game. I think I tuned in about halfway through the second period. Um, but I got kind of the same vibe from this game where it just was bad luck after bad luck and just not it. The team doesn't feel cohesive right now, I guess. And I feel
Well,
like I've said this 100 times before, but like really not feeling cohesive.
yeah, and I was gonna say I don't remember where I heard this from, but someone brought it up um, before the Vancouver game. They said, "Have you ever looked down at um, the Kraken bench during like a break and play or an intermission? Not an intermission. Look down when it's empty.
Hmm.
Um, or like a stoppage, a media timeout, whatever. You look at the Kraken bench. They don't talk to each other that often." And I'm like, so what is it? Like, what's the problem here? Who is the problem here?
Yep.
Like, because it was interesting earlier in the season. I think RJ with Emerald City Hockey would take it with his long, freaky zoom camera. Um, and it was like a timeout late in the game, and it showed the away team was all huddled together, talking
Hmm.
about something. Kraken were all just kind of doing their own thing. And he goes, "This kind of shows the state of these two franchises." And I go, "Yeah,
Yep.
like that's why I'm okay with retooling heavily. I don't want to say rebuild because again, we've talked about it to death. They
Hmm.
don't have the timeline given the expectation of the NBA returning to rebuild. They just don't have that timeline. Okay. If this was a team that already had the NBA before they Kraken got here, I think they would have gone with their original plan, and they wouldn't have spent big in free agency in the last year. We would you know it would be different. It would be a lot
Hmm.
different. You'd have time for these kids to grow. Um, yeah, like it just seems like change is needed in a
Yep.
lot of ways. I'd even include Bob Woods in that. I just, the Kraken defense was never this bad.
Hmm.
I'm not like you said, like there's a lot of really solid stuff going on with the defensemen in this core.
If
Not
you look at
saying
all
they're
of
all
them
perfect.
separately, they're not bad, but for whatever reason, when you're putting them together, and like I said, I don't know if it's the lines that they're putting, or the pairings, not lines, but the pairings that they have them in, if that's not working, or I'm not really sure, but separately, it's a pretty solid defensive core. When you put them together, it's seeming more and more like it's kind of falling apart.
Yeah. And no, I mean, that's the thing as well. I'm like, well, do you need to shake it up? Like,
Hmm.
and that's what also it goes back to me. It's like the Dunn Larson pairing would have bad games every once in a while, but not like this.
Yeah.
Like, so that's where I'm like, even a pairing that I would be hesitant to change up has issues. Like, then I think something else is like happening. I'm wondering if it's
Hmm.
a system thing. I'm wondering, because as Sylvia would talk about early in the show, like you've got a excuse me, you've got a new coach, you got this and that. They've got to fully set systems in. I know in any other sport, systems do take a good amount of time. Sometimes they even take the full first season to fully
Hmm.
be understood. Um, I just it's past that to me.
I was
Like
I
I
have two things. So if you look at Money Puck and you look at lines and then obviously filter it by Kraken and then minimum ice time 200 minutes. Right now the Dunn Larson line is second, but they have 28.9 goals against and only 25.9 goals for
mm,
expected, obviously. And so that's not what it was at the beginning of the season. They were a little bit higher up, or they were one for a while, and then the line came into play. And now obviously that's the better line, but then also with the coaching thing, we can talk about, new coaching and new systems and all that until we're all blue in the face. But then you look at some other teams where they have that solid core and they have really solid defensive pairings and the team is all meshed really well together and all that. And they get a new coach and it just seems like they don't take as long to adjust, I
mm,
guess. And that's not saying anything bad about Seattle's coaching at all. I think that's more a reflection of the players.
yeah, I that's the thing as well. Like that I and it'll be funny to like think about this later in the year
Mhm.
if they do well and they do improve. But like when the Mariners fired Scott Service, I said there are deeper issues than Scott Service here. Like this is a player personnel thing.
Yep.
Like again, it's like I've been taught with hitting. you can say all these things about hitting. It's like you need to get your bat here, you need to prepare for this, this, and this. Your hips have got to be a certain way.
Hmm.
You can say all of that before you step in and play. But if you get up there and play and you don't execute on what all this information that's been thrown at you, it doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Like you have to be able, it's like learning, right? You have to be able to apply what you study, what all that. You have to be able to apply it,
Yep,
right? Like there's no spark notes for playing sports. It doesn't exist,
absolutely.
right? Like coaching hires, yes, there are great coaches. There are the coaches that elevate this and that. But at the end of the
Hmm.
day, the players do have to execute and be in the right positions and use their brain, use the
Yep.
giant meat slab that's in there with electricity in it, like, you know, and execute. I mean,
Mhm.
I think it's cool that a guy in Shane Wright that's been around Jessica Campbell more than a lot of these guys have has the most power play goals on this team.
Hmm.
I don't know. Like,
Yeah. So like I said, I
so
don't think it's a problem with the coaching staff. I think it's a little bit more player specific.
yeah, and that's again, it goes back to change. Like,
Hmm.
well, I have to go back to Puckpedia. Oop, excuse me. I'm all sort of noises tonight, folks. And it's been a past few days in a week, that's for sure. At some point, I'm gonna edit in our hour, my interview with Jessica Campbell as just one Sports Star of the Year, Sports Story of the Year, sorry,
Hmm.
at the 90th annual Sports Star of the Year awards. So I'll just put that in there. We did a bunch of stuff with a few people who are involved in Seattle sports. So, we figured we could put it in the weekly shows. So I'm gonna do that. I think maybe at the end of the episode, just be like, here's this. Um, but oh yes, Puckpedia. I was like, where am I going? Uh, Chandler Stevenson's new. I mean, the contract's bad, but he's new.
Hmm.
Jaden Schwartz, tough, but I could understand it. Berkey, gotta go. Bjorky would like to avoid that because I think he is a guy that cares. I think he is a guy that had remember how last week we said a championship team should have a Jared McCann. I
Hmm.
think a championship team also would, maybe not in the same team, but could like in a similar way have an Oliver Bjorkstrand,
Yeah.
right? Same with Yanni Gord, but kind of like him and Tanev, like it seems like the writing's on the wall that they're going to move on. Jared McCann, I've already said my piece. Jordan Eberle, I think he's too old at this point to ever move again. I think Seattle's his home for the rest of his career.
Hmm.
I think he wraps it up here. Um, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Sorry, that was somewhat urgent. Tanev, lump him in there. Tolvanen, I mean, he's 25 and he's a physical he's a guy that really does deliver on the forecheck. I'll have to look at Kraken hit leaders this year. But like how Tanev is always at the top for the forwards. Tolvanen was often in like the top five for all players on Seattle's
Hmm.
roster. So I'm like, so he's a guy that's gonna check. I think we've talked about this somewhat recently as well. Oh, I must have said this when we were looking at players for the trade deadline, huh?
Yeah.
Um, he's a guy that's still got a great shot. And he's tough. Like I'm happy with that. And he's young. I mean, 25, and he's cheap.
Hmm.
I'm not. I got no problem with that, you know. Um, damn it, I'm trying to find hit statistics. God damn it. Mm, 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 mm. Let's see. Tolvanen, Capo. I mean, just extend the guy. The only thing I wonder with Capo is what he wants to do. Like, are you happy enough in Seattle where you want a long-term deal, or are you saying, "Hey, I'm happy here, but I want to sign like a like a bridge deal in a sense."
Hmm.
You know, do I don't know.
I am
Um,
very interested to see what happens there. I would hope This is not selfish at all, by the way. I would hope that Kako is happy enough here and feels, like he's succeeding enough here to stick around.
Yeah, I think he is. I mean, just to get that better opportunity is something that he wanted, and he's been
Hmm.
like on the top line consistently for since he's been here, arguably, really, right?
Yep.
Um, so like he's been getting that, and he's got Tolvan in here, he's got a buddy here. So like,
Hmm.
and it's not like with these players that they've had any time to go and ex especially for him. Like some of the guys like Montour who are like new this year, I'm
Hmm.
sure will have some, oh, maybe I'll ask him. Um, some time to like explore or whatever, but you know, yeah, I don't know. That is something that'll be interesting, and I understand why it hasn't happened yet. Like I'd love to have that hit the inbox, but like I imagine he and his agent are gonna be like, "Hey, like we don't want to lock ourselves in quite yet."
Hmm.
Um, so well, StatMuse says that Ellie Tolvanen is the player with the most hits for the Kraken at 187. I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but I mean it helps my narrative. So
Yeah.
um, and then Shane Wright, Ty Cartier, Ben Myers, like I'm leaving them all alone. I'm not touching that. So yeah, I mean I can understand. That's why like with some of the tough decisions, I can understand changing things up because it's obvious that this model isn't working anymore. It
Hmm.
wasn't working last year. They tried to double down and hope that last year was a down year. Last year proved to be the reality,
Yep.
right? Um,
Rather than being a fluke, it's appearing to be the norm.
yeah, so the fluke of the year in 22, 23, they took for something that was sustainable and in reality. And what was this reality and unfortunately sustainable was their mediocrity.
Yep.
So that's tough. Yeah, again, I don't hate to, but I understand not wanting to, you know, have to hear you folks wanting to hear why this team needs to do this and where they're at right now, but
Hmm.
it's just, until they really start to accept that and we start to see the change. I'm wondering if they're willing to do it, or otherwise what the problem is.
Yep.
So, um, oh yeah, the Vancouver game. Hey, they won a game. You wouldn't have thought they would with how I'm talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few days off. Excuse me. Well, one day off and then two practices. And then they played the Canucks, and I said, okay, this is a team that's desperate. This is a team in Vancouver that's fighting for a playoff spot, right? And this is a Kraken team that needs to prove how they can respond. And they've been one of the most inconsistent teams all season, let alone the last few years. And then they won. Um, like what? I, you know, um, I mean, it didn't start out well. Let's get that out of the
Yeah.
way, right? Like 2-1, Andre scores first, and this I told Jade this. I looked over, I said, I feel kind of bad that my goal tweet is mostly Shane Wright praise when it's the
Hmm.
Andre Burakovsky goal. But like Shane picks up the loose puck in the neutral zone, he skates it in, he sauces a nice pass across the slot to Burakovsky, and I said to Jade then, I said just about any NHL player should be able to nail that shot off that pass. Like Andre did nothing special there, but trail to play and shoot.
Hmm.
Um, and then Piotr scored a pretty decent goal actually. I was like, oh, okay. At least in terms of the shot. How he got the shot was bad.
Real
Seattle
bad.
was hemmed into their own defensive zone. Vince Dunn, I think he was trying to lift a pass to a teammate. There was a Kraken teammate right in front of him. This is my soccer background. I really hate passing the ball anywhere near my goal. I don't want it there. Like, Adam Larson gets it down to Vince. Vince tries to get it to Ben Myers. Yeah, I forgot Ben. I was like, who the hell is 59? And unfortunately, the puck goes right to Suter, who shoots immediately, and he gets it under Joey's glove. That's just a really bad giveaway, right? I
Yep,
think I joked that Vince should get the primary assist on that.
you did.
Um, yeah, and then what, less than 5 minutes left, less than 4 minutes left. Wow, in the first period, they give up a second goal to Filipino. Um, oh, Jesus Christ. Was this the shorthanded goal? Wait, yeah. Sorry, there's ads on this stupid NH. I'm trying to watch all these goals again. I see too many sportses. There's
Hmm.
just too much. Um, no, it's not shorthanded. Okay, thank God. I was like, Jesus Christ. Um, oh yeah, this one was tough because right out the so Vancouver wins a face-off in Seattle's offensive zone. Tyler Myers, God forbid Tyler. Oh, we'll talk about Tyler Myers at the end of this game. Sick
Yippee.
bastard. Is at the blue line. He tries to hit a slap shot. Oliver Bergstrand gets his stick in the way. Unfortunately, because he deflected that puck, it skitters right to Philip Hedl, who is wide open to the right of Joey Decord, and Joey's like in an awkward position, already going down. Hedl just
Hmm.
lifts it. It's 2-1. That was a weird goal. I was like, how did this happen? Um, I was like, how did he get wide open right next to the net? God damn you, Philip Hedl. It's like the last time they played Vancouver, they didn't have Hedl. Um, oh God, who's the Hronik?
Mancini.
Oh, him too. And
Hmm.
Quinn Hughes. Huggy Bear. Huggy Bear. My vocal stems are back. So yeah, I mean, we go into the first intermission. It looks bad, right?
Hmm.
Like I was fully expecting it to devolve into what we saw in St. Louis. I was like,
Yep,
all right, we're going
absolutely
down
same.
this we're going down this train again. And then the I Love Tipping campaign started, and
Hmm.
Oliver Bjorkstrand got a tip out in front. And I said, "Oh wow, that was his. I think was the most impressive of the bunch, just because of how high it was.
Yep.
The others like they were solid. Don't get me wrong. Oh, there was a shorthanded goal. See, I didn't hallucinate that. I was like,
I was gonna say I
damn.
kind of remember seeing a shorthanded goal, but I couldn't remember who or which one or whatever.
Well, it was kind of a nice move too by Dakota Joshua. We'll get to that, but." Oh, excuse me. God, there's so many ads. I just want to watch these goals, man. Let watch the goals.
No goals.
I guess not. Just the Chipotle smoked brisket for a limited time. Chipotle, please sponsor. Yeah, it's just really funny, especially with this game, for them to get three tips after talking all year about going net front. I'm like, wow, did something finally click for you guys? You used your brains? Like,
Little too late for that, but
Um, goes back to the inconsistencies. I'm like,
mhm.
hey, you can't do this. Like, you can, but I really wish you wouldn't. I really wish you'd figured things out. See, this is how you know this team is ass backwards because this play begins with Andrei Burakovsky winning a board battle in the corner. D d Does he know how to
Sure.
do that?
No.
He somehow gets this pass through. Oh, he gets it over to Shane, who then gets. Yeah, okay, now the pass makes sense. Okay, he gets it over to Shane, who finds Brandon Montour up at the blue line. Montour just flips one, and Oliver Bjorkstrand, while getting hit in the back, is able to redirect this puck past good old Kevin Lankinen. The whole game I had the pronunciation they had of Lankinen, Kevin Lankinen. I don't remember which. Where is he from? Is he Swedish?
Hold on, I'll look.
I remember in during the Four Nations they had him doing the pronunciation, and I was like, "Oh, okay.
Finish.
Oh, Finnish. Oh, not did I say Swedish? Oh, I'm
Mhm.
sorry. That's why I remembered it is because I was watching for Capo Caco. Damn it. I'm sorry, Capo. Please, please. Jade wants more of the salmon fin soup. Wait,
I do. It was so good.
um, now I'm gonna go and look for that pronunciation. Kevin Lankinen. I promise I'm not making it up. He sounded like that. And that's the only reason I was thinking about it all day. Um, yeah, the Bjorkstrand goal was nice, but then things just so it's all tied up, and that's nice. And then Seattle gets a power play, and you think, okay, the momentum really is swinging in their favor. Um, they just look bad on the power play most of all night. That power play specifically, just around the middle of the second period, was terrible. Jared McCann is converged upon by two Canucks, which they have one guy less than you. It's the power play. They shouldn't be able to converge on you.
Yep.
Um, Unfortunately, Jared turns it right over, sends it right into the slot. Dakota Joshua. Oh God, that's disgusting. Yeah. Oh, it was Dakota Joshua. He's free down. Oh, don't tell me that Kiefer Sherwood. Oh no, it's Drew O'Connor. Oh,
Oh
good
my
old
God.
Doc. Hi, Maverick. Drew O'Connor, basically a 2-on-1 here. Dakota Joshua. Oh, someone complained that Vince doesn't do enough to intercept this pass. Yeah, no, he kind of does. Like he's fully leaning forward, has his stick out, and just barely misses the puck. Like, yeah, what do you want him to do? Lean like that and be like Maverick? I don't know. Like, you know. And then J Joshua was able to stick handle just past the cord who had laid out to try and make a save. And that's a shorthanded goal. That was tough. But then Seattle again continued the tip campaign with Maddie and Ellie Tolvanen getting in tips in this one to send him into the second intermission with a lead. And I was like, wow, that this actually feels well, and that was the thing too, which was really nice, was that the crowd was into this one pretty early
Yeah.
on. Which was nice to see, especially after the St. Louis game. Like I did not expect that. I thought things would get worse. Um, And I do have to get some credit to Berkey in this one because I'm trying to go through the plays again. And there's this one right around the 18-minute mark of the third where he
Hmm.
skates in. He's got no because it's a change, right? And the only other guy on the ice is Ben Myers. There's four Canucks around Andrei Burakovsky. And then Ben Myers is back here along the near wall, and Berkey is able to skate through and he gets the shot off. You remember this play,
Yep.
right? And I was like, I almost wanted to say that looks like a healthy and normally functioning Andrei Burakovsky.
Yep.
Like he played
Free
it.
all of the unfortunate injuries and
Yep.
stuff and things.
He played a decent game in this one.
Hmm.
Um, and it just anytime something like that happens, it just yeah, he almost snuck it under Lankinen's blocker arm. That's that would have been a very nasty goal. Oh, it almost shot it through Quinnifer. Jesus Christ. It would have been great. It would have been great.
Could have been good.
So, well, and then it was funny because I said their power play was bad all night. Like 2 seconds after this power play into the third, Jared McCann throws the puck into the slot for Chandler Stevenson, who basically just kind of like skirts out of the way to find Brandon Montour, who does the full like generic. Oh, wait, I have a stick. I can demonstrate. I'm gonna use my. Oh wait, this is the wrong sided stick, so it's gonna look weird. I'm not my stick, but he's doing the full like he's got the full extension
Yep.
uh on this shot, and it's just this bomb that goes right by Lankinen. Partially because Jordan Eberle's screening out in front. Oh, okay, we're just gonna leave that there. Yeah, I don't know, like the yep, this the last two periods of this game were good hockey.
Yeah.
Sans the shorty, like that's a good game
Mhm.
against a team that is pretty desperate and has some good players. I mean, Elias Pettersson kind of looked like shit all game, and so I kind of understand why
Pedersen's also
Vancouver.
been having a rough year. Not to be a Canuck
Yeah,
apologist ever, but he's been having a rough time. I think he has like 1 or 2 points or something in his last like 12 games played,
Jesus.
9 games played, or it's some like high number. And yeah, he's been having a rough go. So,
Yeah.
um, I was not expecting much from him personally last night. And then obviously with JT Miller not being on the team anymore, that's, only a plus for other teams that play the Canucks for the rest of the
Hmm.
season. Really bad if you're playing the Rangers because he's on a heater right now. But
Oh, is he?
yeah, that's
Jesus.
not the Kraken's problem anymore.
Nope. Not
So,
my monkeys, not my circus.
yep,
I mean, this is still a team that has a lot of talent.
absolutely, yeah.
So I just really wasn't expecting this result. Jade, I don't think we need to go further in on the St. Louis game, but if you have any thoughts that I didn't get to because I was going on my madman ramble, then feel free. But
I got nothing for St. Louis.
yeah, what did you think about Vancouver? Because this is the sort of game and result that, this late into the season. Ideally, this is you pushing for a playoff spot or you're
Hmm.
fighting for seeding. And this is the sort of win that makes you feel good going into the playoffs, like playoff time and around the deadline you'd be buying.
Yep.
Instead, Seattle's getting ready to sell. Like, I don't know. I don't need you to talk about that specifically, but like that's why this game is frustrating to me. Because
Hmm.
it's like I see what you can do,
Yep.
but
If Seattle was in any other spot, or, for example, if Seattle was the Flyers, who actually have a not legitimate, but like maybe a kind of sliver of hope at maybe making playoffs. If Seattle was in that kind of position, I would have more positive feelings coming out of the Vancouver game. But great, they can play like that. Where's the consistency and can you keep playing like that moving forward? Because it kind of feels like one of those like false hope kind of things where you're seeing this really great team and then you just kind of know that moving forward in the next couple days, next couple games, it's going to go right back to mediocrity and uh disappointing.
yeah, and I mean, especially considering that, you'll trade a few guys, right? I
Hmm.
don't, I, it's unless you've seen something, uh, since the last show, like I haven't seen anything like legitimately new about Seattle. Like the last thing that I've seen was like this thing about Yanni Gord, how he would be a fit on playoff teams. Like I would be a fit for a great wig. Like shut up, Stop saying things
Um,
that are obvious. Like I haven't seen nothing tangible.
I think the
It's
last
weird.
thing, which I'm pretty sure I talked about this on the last show, is the him being linked to a handful of teams, which actually, did I ever go back and screenshot that?
Well, that's the thing too, is like linked, right? I'm like, what does that
Linked
mean?
can mean a lot of things.
You know?
Usually, if I'm seeing a player linked to a team, it's, I don't want to say matter of time, that's a little bit silly, but throughout the entire season, every time I'm seeing a player that almost every time I'm seeing a player that's like linked to this other team, they end up being traded there, or there's like a legitimate this deal fell through kind of thing happening.
Mm,
And I don't have the
sure.
picture anymore, but there was a link with him to, I know it was the Leafs,
Yeah.
because he is not my first pick of a player to go to the Leafs
A lot of
personally.
people think that him going back to Tampa makes sense, and I'm like,
I keep seeing people talk about that, but I haven't seen anything like super serious. It's
yeah.
been a
I
lot of
mean,
Tampa fans like, we want Yanni back.
yeah.
Great, good for you. If that doesn't make sense, then they're not going to send him back there. So,
Oh, there we go. Um, yeah. It's interesting because me and Jake did the Seahawks show, the Seahawks Weekly show, and there's this stuff with DK Metcalf, and it's like he's been in talks. Like, well, what does that mean?
hmm.
Like, we can have talks to get lunch. it doesn't mean it's happening,
Yep.
right?
That's
Like
like us having talks with Grubauer about his indigenous peoples masks. We had talked about these things. That doesn't mean
we
anything.
talked about going to Gasworks Brewery together.
Yep.
Doesn't mean it's gonna happen,
Hmm.
you know? So like I don't know. It's it's interesting to me that there isn't more smoke around them, especially considering that teams have already started to get busy, right? Like especially considering that a few months ago there was a plenty of smoke for them and they were still somewhat in it.
Yep.
Like not really well, but still had a legitimate chance
Yep.
or still had more than the someone compiled a bunch of the percentages for playoff odds, the different websites give them. The highest one, and thank them for being optimistic, was 1%.
Wow.
Everything else is lower than 1%. So,
The only thing that I know, I'm not going to say like 100% for sure because I am not Elliot Friedman.
you're not
Although no, I wish I had his job though. That'd be so much fun. I like to know things.
having big lips.
No, having all that knowledge.
Oh, close enough.
Well, yeah. Anyways, is that a lot of teams are waiting until Carolina announces what they're going to do with Rantanen,
Oh, okay.
which then I saw something today, question mark, I think. I think it was really early this morning, that was that you shouldn't expect anything from your teams until Tuesday or Wednesday, in theory, unless it's like a small move, because that's when they're expecting Rantanen to have more of a solid decision
Fascinating.
or
Yeah, because
Carolina to know.
you and I talked about this off the show about because I think I was looking up the trade deadline time itself,
Hmm.
and there was an article about like situations of what could happen with Rantanen, and I was like, why is he being traded again? I had not seen that he basically said, I'm not resigning here, which is interesting to me because I
And
mean,
that wasn't a for sure he's not resigning. It was there's a thing with the term in the contract that he doesn't want
oh yeah,
apparently. They offered him like 12.6 or 12.8 million. I'm dyslexic. I can't always remember the exact numbers, but 12.6 or 12.8 million. And he said no to that or didn't give an answer on that. It was one of the two. Anyways, so there's a
fascinating.
whole lot going around him right now. And that's why some teams are waiting a little bit longer because we are, by the time this is out, officially 4 days away from the deadline.
Uh,
And there have only been, at the time of recording, three trades made counting towards the deadline.
Oh yeah, so 12.6 either of those terms, not terms. Either of those AAVs would have made
Mhm.
him a top two paid player in the league.
Yep.
Jesus
And so to say
Christ.
no to something like that, there's obviously something a little bit deeper. And
Yeah.
I want to say this was last week on 32 Thoughts, which um,
32
I guess
dots.
I'm gonna start becoming a like promoting it.
I mean, it's pretty good.
Ambassador for 32 Thoughts. Um, they said something about him just kind of being blindsided and compared it to a really bad breakup where you don't know that it's coming.
Oh yeah,
And so
sure.
he's still kind of adjusting to even being in Carolina, which totally makes sense, and I get that. But also, buddy, you're holding up the rest of the league. Some of us want
Yeah,
chaos.
I mean, you want chaos, Jade.
I know, always.
It that's funny because it reminds me of the MLB offseason where everybody was waiting for Pete Alonso to sign, right?
Hmm.
And Bregman, and then
Juan Soto.
Juan Soto, and then freaking Scott Boras asked for too much for both Alonso and Bregman, and they signed really late. Um, yeah, okay. Well, I'll remember to have I already have to have my computer those days anyway, but I'll have my computer on Tuesday and Wednesday, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so, um, past week. Okay. Yeah. That's the past week. You got anything before I go to roster moves?
Nope.
All right. So yeah. Um, sorry, folks. Obviously, this team. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love what we do, right? Like I get to bark at Jayd when they score goals at home.
Woof woof.
Take that out of context as much as you'd like. But like it's just maddening because you want them to do better. Because not only does them doing better make it more entertaining,
Hmm.
but people are happier to, deal with the content when they're winning, right? So it makes sense for all of us if they do better. Like we're not, it's always interesting when I see like people tweet at like writers or reporters or analysts and they go, you don't like, you want to see them lose or you're not a fan of them. It's like, no, we're not fans. That's not the point.
One of
Like,
my favorites is when people reply to my tweets and be like, they need to trade this person or they need to rebuild. Okay, what do you want me to barge into the locker room and start hollering about rebuilding? That's not getting
you
anybody
need to
anywhere.
grab Dan by the chest and you say, hey, you talk to Ron right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's the funniest thing to me is always when people will tweet at Ryan Divish with the Seattle Times, who's essentially been writing for my entire lifetime, and they're like, "You don't want them to win. You don't like
Mhm.
seeing them win." He's like, "I don't care who wins or loses. I'm here to tell stories." And I'm like,
Yep.
"That's the point." Um, but like generally, it is better for all of us in the long run if they do win. So, okay.
Me
Let's
too.
get to these roster moves. Yeah, for Coco to come up, obviously Alex Tezco was reassigned to Coachella Valley. With those moves, Kale Fleury was also reassigned to Coachella Valley. So they're running the 6D, and it makes sense since they're home. Um, uh, yeah, then they were in St. Louis with that as well. Mitchell Stevens was reassigned to Coachella Valley on Wednesday, and they brought up Ben Myers, and that was kind of like you traded white guy for white guy. Like, what's this about? Um, like why did they do this?
Hmm.
Um, it was also interesting with them sending Stevens down because they sent Stevens down on the 26th and they said, "Oh, okay. Like, is Yanni closer than we thought?" And then on the 27th, they did something interesting. They recalled Ben Myers. Sorry, I went ahead. I was early with the Myers thing.
Hmm.
They Okay. They recalled Ben Myers. They sent Ty Cartier on a conditioning loan. And I said, why would you do that? Um, because some people theorized that Ty was hurt. And I'm like, well, no. Why would he be hurt? Like, he's out because Ebbs is in on the fourth line, and then you're kind of in a weird position there. You're not scratching Tanev as much as I think, I have my thoughts about Tanev. And Ty really like he can play center, but I feel like you'd prefer for him not to.
Hmm.
Like there are a lot of things that like point to it making sense why he was scratched, you know. And so people like were concerned like is he hurt? And I'm like I don't think so. And I really don't think so considering that they have since brought him back. So he played one game. Like that's a weird injury if it's only that you need the conditioning
Yeah.
for, in my opinion. Um, Ty could have remained with the Firebirds for up to 14 days on loan without waivers. Um, but obviously he didn't. So that's interesting. I don't know. I plan to go to practice the day that this is coming out, so we'll see if Dan says anything about it. Um, I don't know. Yeah, we'll ask. That one was confusing. I don't really get it. Like, have we talked about that on this show though? Like, we can do some Ty Cartier discourse. Like, don't get me wrong, right? Got a fun story. Gets called up during the playoffs in year two, scores on the road. Like, I think he also then still had like a great Firebirds run too in
Hmm.
the playoffs. Like great story, fun. He's a fourth liner.
Yeah.
Like oh we have because I've referenced this story often. Hearing from Dan Bylsma in the preseason about the fact that he liked his shot talent. I haven't seen it enough. Yes, now I do
Hmm.
remember he's said that before. I've said that before. Who? Hello?
I know what you
Third
meant.
person? What the fuck? Um, like he checks, but like I don't know. It just feels like I see him less and less. I notice him less and less in games,
Hmm.
and that's the problem. When you're
Yep.
young and there will be spots open for you to make more of an impact, ideally like later in the season.
Hmm.
Like, who knows? Maybe depending on what they do, he bumps up to the third line. Like, I don't know. It is interesting. Like, so I don't think he's hurt personally, but I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. Um, it's just oh, do I sound different?
Yep, you did for a second.
There we go. Now it's fixed. I just
With stuff like that, I also sometimes wonder, and with Yanni being close to return, and I talked about this a little bit before the show started, if it has to do with cap space, sending him down for one game so that they could.
so no, well, at least not per Curtis, our friend at Deep Sea
Oh, I
Hockey.
for
He
yeah.
still counts against the cap, which I should have said. But yeah, I was like, so that's why again, I'm like, what is happening here?
Hmm.
You know?
And he'd been healthy scratched for a handful of games before.
Oh, okay, wait a minute. Yeah, that's right, too. Oh gosh. He hasn't officially been brought back up. That's right. Like we don't
Okay,
know if he's in Seattle. Like unless someone's in there like
please nobody spy on the players like that. That's creepy.
unless
I'm prefacing
oh
there.
I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't reference that person. Jake DeBrusque.
Oh,
Yeah,
Jake.
yeah. Um, because so we do those roster moves, right? As we'll move past that.
Sorry.
No, that was my brain that went there. Today, Sunday, we record these
Hmm.
on Sundays. Philip Grubauer was officially brought back up from Coachella Valley.
Yep.
It was seen on the NHM media site by Curtis at Deep Sea Hockey before the official move went through. And Nick Coco was reassigned to Coachella Valley, which makes sense. He's going to
Hmm.
continue his development there, and he's probably going to stay there. Um,
Hopefully.
Yanni Gord, yeah, Jesus Christ. Yanni Gord's still on long-term IR. But they could become CAPA compliant by sending Ben Myers back down to Coachella Valley when they activate Yanni, which
Yep.
just seems naturally like a thing they do anyway, right? Um, and then in the note it says Ty Cartier could also come back then. Um, oh, because okay, he deleted the original post. He said he suspects that Cartier will be back at the same time. But he can't confirm he's back yet. So that's
But
right. I was
also,
operating under
wait,
the impression that he was back. So maybe, okay, I take it all back. Maybe he is hurt. But also, how would that have happened? Like, he played though, too. So, like, oh, well, I hate. Does the AHL log minutes? Like, the WHL doesn't log minutes. So, like,
I don't know if the AHL does actually.
see what I'm going for though? Like, I could look at these logs and be like, okay, he played.
Yeah. It
Hmm.
is.
Jesus, Abbotsford beat Calgary 8-4. God damn. What the fuck they're doing in Abbotsford? Hello? 6-5. Do you log minutes, sir? Hello. I also hate that the
Okay, yeah,
AHL.
Cartier is still on. I was
Yeah,
thinking
he's
about the
still on the
Puckpedia thing. Yeah.
roster,
I was also
which
thinking about the
makes it
Puckpedia
tough.
thing, which then made me think about how I was like, wait, they don't have room for, oh yeah, they do have room for Yanni to come back, but they have to send Ben Myers down.
No minutes. So,
So did he get press boxed in Coachella too?
no, he had two shots.
Mm.
Oh, I'm saying they don't show the minutes.
Oh, I thought you meant he had no minutes, and I was like, dang, that
The only
sucks.
minutes they show are the goalies.
Oh.
Wow, very helpful. Yeah, like, does the official game report have them? No, god damn it. Like, come on, man. You know? Well, yeah, also it doesn't help when you play in a 6-5 win and you're an NHL guy and you don't get a point. That's a little interesting to me. Again, I feel like we've got the ceiling with Ty Cartier, unfortunately.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, we're at the point. Philip Grubauer is back, which makes sense. I mean, he's been down in Coachella Valley for about a month. Um, I think the only issues he had down in Coachella Valley was playing the San Diego Gulls. They are annoying as shit. Like it's like keeping track of the Firebirds. They always play weird and bad games against the Gulls. Don't know what it is.
Hmm.
Maybe they don't like San Diego. I don't know. I also just like having an NHL goalie as your backup as opposed to an AHL goalie.
Yeah.
It's just me. And then we've got the giant where's Ty Cartier like instead of where's Waldo or
Hmm.
oh wait, I'll just start creating that now. Or the milk carton, have you seen me?
Yep.
Because I mean, until we get to practice tomorrow and he's either there or he's not, don't know. So I don't know. Are you like? What do you think? Either about Cartier or the fact that Grubauer is back? Because like, at least they're interesting. I'll give them this. They are inconsistent as all hell, but they're somewhat interesting.
Hmm.
So it's not like I'm bored to death with them, you know?
I don't have very many feelings one way or the other, which is why when uh
What?
the chat that we what
I feel like okay. They're showing me the English version. I was gonna have a Mandela moment because I looked up Where's Waldo and it gave me Where's Wally and I damn near had a stroke.
oh
I was like, no, don't do this. I said, don't do this to me right now.
um
Okay.
anyways, which is why in the chat earlier that we're both in, I didn't say much about either thing. Well, A, I was napping, and B, I didn't have very many thoughts, positive or negative. Yeah, I don't know. My brain also is kind of fully on trade mode right now. So
You just want to get going with that.
yeah, I want it to be done because
That's
once
fair.
that's over, you get to just kind of, especially in the Kraken's case, where
Oh yeah. Then
The
we're on
Kraken
cruise
apostrophe
control.
S, by the way, not Krakens.
We
No
love the Krakens.
in their case, the season's essentially, a wash. So at that point, you just get to hang out and watch bad hockey.
Yeah. So
So I don't really have any feelings one way or the other.
it'll be
I'm hoping that Grubauer comes back really refreshed, and I hope that he is super excited to see his horse.
because he played with the horses down in Coachella Valley
Yeah,
and they said nice things. They said, "Hey man."
exactly. I hope he's jazzed to get to go to see
He
his
had
horse.
like a vision down in that ranch. He said, "You need to go home. You need to go home." And he
Yep.
woke up. He said, "What?" They're like, "Phil, you gotta get on the plane." Ron called. We told him he got hit by a horse, and he was very concerned. Um, Making this Where's Ty Cartier graphic is gonna be hard. Trying to make a graphic and speak is difficult. Um, I don't know why am I doing this? Oh God. Yeah, I mean, I think the most interesting thing of all that is where the hell Ty Cartier is. Cause like
Also that, yeah.
I'm like, what could you be doing right now? Like, again, if he's still down there, he can be down there for 14 days. He
Hmm.
can be down there for 14 days to the 27th. So, 1, 2. Excuse me, about the 12th. So that's a good amount of time. That's through the trade deadline. They said, "Hey, buddy, go down to Coachella Valley, go and hang out away from all this."
He is on the media roster.
Yeah. Hmm. Don't know, Ty. Don't know what you're doing. All right. Well, now we can get something that you want to talk about. What do you think about this team's trade deadline outlook? Because they got to sell, right? But like, I guess my question here is rather than just super vague, how do you feel about this deadline? Is how much selling is going to happen if I have to put you in the takes department and ask you something outright, not, oh, I think, because I do that a lot. I'm like, oh, I think, they could do this, but they could also like, no, I
Mhm.
need you, I need definitive. How much selling is going to happen before we get to the official time on Friday when things are, your clock where it's like, all right, you're done. No more
Yeah.
moves. No more moves.
Can you insert that evil raccoon gif?
Jesus Christ. We'll see.
Um, if anybody knows what I'm talking about, there's an evil raccoon twiddling his fingers. I would I wouldn't go on a fire sale. I would not open the team up for a fire sale if I'm Ron Francis. However, I would be way more open to hearing offers on players that I previously was not hearing offers on. I would probably be willing to trade about a third of the team. Whether that's like prospects that are going to be ready, like, in the next year or so, or even some roster. I obviously you need roster players back at that point. You don't have enough in Coachella Valley to bring up. I mean, you could, but that's really screwing the development of players. But theoretically, you're not just bringing up a bunch of Coachella guys. You're getting a couple roster players back, and then the rest I would probably trade. I would no, nope. What I would do is trade probably a quarter of the guys for picks, prospects, whatever. The remaining up to a third of them, I would try to bundle however you can, send them off for roster players back, personally. I don't have like actually I do have specific names, but they're the same names that I've been saying. Tanev, Gord, uh Alexiak. I'm drawing a blank now. Berkey.
Someone will take them. It's excuse me. It is interesting because I don't think it's hardly ever a team just goes all picks, right?
Hmm.
When they're trading, when they're selling. I do wonder like what kind of guys that they'll bring in. Is it like we are gonna try to get some young players in addition to some picks or some younger players?
Hmm.
Like, do they take flyers on some veterans that'll probably spend a cup of coffee here? Um, there's no way there's a buying situation, and they're not really a team that like unless they've already offloaded Gord and Tanev, like that will take on a veteran that has like they'll be a salary dump team,
Yep.
right? So like,
Especially if you're thinking a little bit more into the future and like we talked about earlier, needing to re-sign Kako and
hmm
um there's a handful of other players that are coming up on.
Shane's ELC is coming up in somewhat soon. Riker's
Yeah.
ELC, like
So you're looking at stuff like that and you need to get a couple contracts re-signed or then think about trading them if you're not going to keep them around, although not keeping them around would be not a smart move, but there's a handful of things to take into consideration there where you don't want to cap dump, like you said.
yeah, you don't want to be like what it's unfortunate, and I don't mean to say it because of how the fact that they got stolen, but like how the Arizona Coyotes had a bunch of dead contracts,
Hmm.
right? They were like cap graveyard. Um, so yeah, no, I mean it'll be interesting in that regard to see what sort of like if they're able to maybe kick the tires on more guys, how they kind of did with Kako, right?
Hmm.
Guys that they can give more opportunity that, if they do enough, could be part of the fabric of this team going forward. Like, I don't know. So we'll see. And I mean, it would be really interesting too if Ron is able to do something that is so like big and drastic that it might buy him some more time. Because I'm not fully convinced he's your GM next year, truthfully.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's up in the air currently. I'm not saying it either definitively one way. I'm not saying he's for sure coming back. I'm not saying he's for sure gone. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know. That's part of what makes it interesting to me is that I'm still trying to make this Ty Cartier thing. Um, that I just don't know. Like, it's just not super clear. Um, so yeah. I don't know. I don't think it'll just be those two. That's how I feel. I don't think it'll just be 13 and 37. And I'm a little hesitant on 37 at this point. Like, I don't
Hmm.
know. Um, yeah. I think someone besides 13 and 37 moves.
I
So
agree.
we'll see. I mean, who knows? If they're that busy, oh no, couldn't that day. Would figure it out. But we'll certainly have stuff to talk about next week. That's for sure. So,
Yippee.
um, as I'm still trying to figure out what font to use for this Where's Ty Cartier. Um,
So then moving into the week forward.
no, Ty Cartier meme.
Okay, aside from Ty Cartier meme,
Oh God, then I open it and it's Where's Waldo? Yeah, my search history is gonna be really weird. Where's Waldo? Ty Cartier face. Um, I mean, yeah, there's this interesting slate of games as well because you play on Tuesday, you play, oh Jesus, and it's
Minnesota.
Minnesota, and like what, the last time ever that Marc-Andre Fleury will come here?
Stop. I'm gonna get sad. And I don't
We're
even like that team.
I only like Marc-Andre really.
Okay.
And Brock Faber because he's
Yep.
woke. Get woke right now. Um, oh Jesus. I shouldn't have looked that far. Oh, that's right, because Minnesota's in the slog fest of the Central Division, where it's like three of the top teams in the West, and then like the fourth place team is the Colorado Avalanche with 72 points.
Hmm.
Like, shut up. Like, you're
Yep.
terrible. Yeah, Minnesota will come to town on Tuesday. They're 5-5 in their last 10, so they're not like overwhelmingly on a heater, which is nice, but doesn't really mean much.
Yeah, I was gonna
It'll
say
be
that
interesting
doesn't mean
to see if
shit against the
Mark,
Kraken.
well, yeah. It'll be interesting to see if Mark Andre does start. I
Hmm.
might just go to their morning skate, honestly.
For
Um,
funsies.
well, just to maybe even see if I can ask Flower about Seattle. Be like, hey, what did you think about playing here?
Hmm.
That sort of thing. We'll see. Um, so they play that game on Tuesday. That is Philip Grubauer bobblehead night, which I'm sure there's some angry fan out there that's like, they only brought him back because his bobblehead.
There is. I've seen them.
Already? Jesus.
Yep.
Well, I'm gonna avoid that then. I just don't need to see stupidity.
Yeah.
Um, watch Dan tomorrow. Yeah, we brought him back because we wanted to play for his bobblehead. Like, Dan, don't do that. First 10,000 fans. Got it.
Hmm.
Um, all
And
right,
then
first.
they play the
Yep. Then
Predators.
they'll fly out probably the next day, head out and play the. See,
I
speaking
hate
of
their
teams
team.
that spent a lot of money in the offseason and then ended up being bad.
So bad. Oh my God. I could talk about Nashville for hours and how I think that they just brought, sorry, total tangent. They brought way too much elite talent together at one time without like kind of staggering it in.
Hmm. I thought they were going to be a contender.
Yeah, me too.
Like for a Nashville team that consistently plays pretty well and
Hmm.
like puts playoff teams together or close, that's a mess.
And then now they're 7 points behind the Kraken in the standings.
Yeah. See, it
Yep,
can be worse.
it absolutely can. You also could be San Jose, who is a solid,
Well, at least San
wait, I
Jose has
can't math that
children that
quick.
are fun. I don't even know what's going on in the Nashville system. I have no idea.
They have Luke Evangelista. He's pretty cool.
Oh, that's right. Every time I hear his name, I'm like, oh yeah, you exist.
Yep.
Yeah. So sorry, the Tuesday game's at 7. Normal 7 o'clock game. Kraken Hockey Network, Kong, good.
Yep.
Thursday, against Nashville, 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific, normal. Kraken Hockey Network, Kong, good.
Didn't that one
Fridays,
change time? Is that the switch time?
that one used to be on ESPN. Yeah, on the ESPN.
Okay.
And so
I thought
they,
they changed the puck drop time too.
I think they did. I think it was originally later, but at least on the Kraken webs on the Kraken schedule, it says 5.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Carrying on.
the
Sorry.
next day is the trade deadline, so Jade will probably wake up like it's Christmas morning or something,
Yep.
or have already been like Christmas morning because the deals have already gone through. We'll
My
see.
plan is actually probably to nap late Thursday night and then wake up super early Friday morning so that I'm awake at East Coast time. I have to pay attention to the flight,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Well, then, speaking of which, the day after the trade deadline, they play the Philadelphia Flyers in the first game of a back-to-back, Saturday the 8th, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. Some of you will probably sleep through that. And to make it even worse, it's on ABC and ESPN Plus. Don't know why. No idea. Who said these two?
ABC is a
ABC
peculiar.
morning. Like, what the
What about the soap
um,
operas?
I guess. Yeah, the Iceplex is at 32 Bar and Grill's doing pucks and pancakes. A bunch of us should be there. So unless you like really hate me, you should come.
Hmm.
But if
I'll
you're
have
really
mimosas.
angry about my thoughts, then mm-mm-mm. Or yeah, if you're gonna be an internet tough guy and be like, I'll do it in front of you. Okay, there's your
Yep.
chance. And then the next day, yeah, back to back. Great. Love it. 12:30 p.m. That one's back on the Kraken Hockey Network in Kong, which is surprising considering how close Alex Ovechkin is. That's back on the Kraken Hockey Network and Kong, 12:30 p.m. Pacific, on the 9th. So, folks, a lot will happen between this and the next episode. Please, as I always say, take care of yourself, please,
Yep.
especially around trade deadline time. I'm looking at one friend in particular,
Please,
a
please take care of
short
health.
friend. Please, yeah, because it's I feel like it's gonna be a long week.
Hmm.
It hasn't even started yet. Like we've got 3 minutes technically before it officially starts, but yeah. I'm almost done with the worst card. I saw that.
I meant you to.
I'm done with the worst card. Anyway, then we see you next time. Take care of yourselves, be well, and do whatever you can to make today a great day.
Here with Jess Campbell from the Seattle Kraken. Jess, first of all, obviously we're in season still. You guys are back from the road trip after the Four Nations break, but you're being celebrated tonight as a nominee, and your story. So many people want to, which is nice to tell your story. But have you been able to breathe at all between the press and then obviously still coaching and that being the forefront, but also like juggling being a mentor, like a leader, like, do you get to breathe at all? How do you
Yes,
handle all this?
absolutely breathe. I mean, it's part of the position. I think that it's a huge privilege and opportunity every day to get to do what I love, show up at the rink. Obviously, there's responsibility and just the task at hand, and I'm so deep in the work, and that's where my focus is. But of course, there's these pieces that are so important. I think messaging and storytelling and connecting with our community fan bases is a big part of moving this thing forward. And yeah, we're on our way as a team and we're on our journey. And I just think that, I've just tried to take it all in. But yes, I've absolutely taken moments to breathe.
How has it been to be in an organization like the Kraken where they want to be so at the forefront of things, whether it is inclusivity or like I hear from Todd Lewicki about the facilities all the time, which, whether it's Coachella Valley or here, like just such a forward-thinking organization. What is that like for you? Because I know there are, some organizations that might not be, right? And it's tough for both the athletes and the coaches involved and just the staff in general. But to be in an organization like Seattle, where that seems to be such a big thing, and you hear more when it started, and the inaugural season happened, when they would first come in, but folks coming in and talking about the building or new players coming in. Like I remember last year talking to Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, and he was like, I've never really seen anything like this, right? Like, do you ever think about, that being involved in such a forward-thinking organization?
I mean, yes, we live it and breathe it every day. I'm so proud to get to be part of this organization and what it represents. I can't say enough amazing things. Everywhere we go in the league, there's nothing like Climate Pledge. There's nothing like the way the Kraken do it. For me to walk into a position where you want to talk about standards of excellence, I grew up on an all-boys team, and 5-year-old me dressing in cold storage locker rooms because there was no girls room. When I walked in 3 years ago, coaching the Firebirds, part of this organization, and I saw my own female coach's locker room, I started to cry, because that's just how forward thinking, regardless of when. It wasn't a matter of when or how, but that was the way they thought. And I think just the belief that diversity and bringing in new voices and different voices is strength and creates better teams and stronger teams. Like, I take huge pride in bringing my voice to the table and knowing that I've had a seat at the table with this organization for long before I got here, and we're just getting started.
I want to kind of continue to talk about the different locker rooms, right? And you and I talked about this after it happened with the takeover tour happening, right? Like, and I know talking to you, you've talked to some of your former teammates, and obviously you were in the locker room at that. But how nice has it been to sort of keep an eye on the PWHL and its growth? And obviously it's exciting to know that there's the expansion, and I won't put that in for you to ask if Seattle deserves a team, because I feel like it would be a yes already.
Selfishly, yeah.
But of course. But just how nice has it been to see the strides made in women's hockey, just generally, whether it is, just having this league, this one league that's focused, and there's resource behind it, and it's accessible. Like, I know you've got your own thing to do, but keeping an eye on that, how inspiring has that been to see? Because, you were someone with Canada and other parts of your career where, it wasn't like that at all.
Right. I mean, not too many years ago, I was part of those teams. Some of my best friends are still playing, and I've watched them really have to push through the hard years of not having the backing, the financial support to have a league of their own. And just to know that now they're still not exactly where they want to be there, but they're doing it now. They're getting paid for the deserving roles that they all work for and show up for every day. When I played, we played for strictly the love of the game, not a paycheck. And so just to see the magnitude and seeing the platform of playing and selling out NHL arenas, that's what they're deserving of. That's what they've always been. So I just get to sit back and really be a spectator, but I try to support. I try to support as a leader, as a coach, as a friend, just any way that I can to continue to see that league grow forward and be an ally.
My last one for you, maybe a little less serious, because obviously the game aspect is the forefront, but and I say this not just myself, because I'm not the best style person. I hate being in a suit right now. But fans online have really been stunned by, every day you're showing up to the rink, and you're probably the most, like, respect to Dan, of course, and Dave and Bob, but you're probably the most fashionable coach in the league. Like, and it's always nice to see you shouting out who does your makeup, who does the hair, like giving credit to these folks who get you ready for a game day. Like, what has that side been like? Because I don't know if you do it specifically to uplift certain people, but it feels like it does give them their own platform as well. When you're such a spotlight and you show up like this, and you've got different folks behind the scene, and you're making sure that they are seen as well.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a village. I just try to show up as my authentic self every day. And I love fashion. I love just expressing myself through fashion, and it helps me feel my best, and then I can do my job the best of my ability. But yeah, celebrating other people that are doing a great job.
The winner of the Sports Story of the Year, presented by MTR Western, is Jessica Campbell.
Wow, okay. Thank you to the Seattle sports community, to the entire commission for putting on this event, to everyone here tonight, and to our Kraken organization, and all the other recipients and award winners, and just inspiring, and congratulations. I mean, this award's not about me. I think it's all about progress. It's about what happens when we stop asking if change is possible and we prove that it is. I may be the first woman behind an NHL bench, but I'm surely not the last, because when one door gets opened, it never really closes. I want to thank Sam Holloway, this entire Seattle Kraken ownership group, the early vision led by David Bonderman, and our CEO, Todd Lewicki, who's here tonight. You didn't just talk about change, you made it happen. I also want to thank our GMs, Ron Francis, Alex Mendrecki, who's here tonight, for your leadership and support. You didn't just open a door, you moved our game forward. Lastly, to our head coach, Dan Balsma, this journey began 3 years ago in the minors. Thank you for seeing me for my ability. You believed in the idea that different voices and perspectives, when welcomed with equal knowledge and passion, build stronger teams. This isn't about rewriting the past of hockey or sport. It's about defining the future, and we're just getting started. Thank you all.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey. Where are you going to watch all those Kraken away games?
Kraken away games, making a push. I was thinking of coming here just because Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports, only if that's okay with you.
I mean, I love that idea. Hope to see you here.